think this is part 6 or part 7. So I just talked about how, well, I'm gonna do a recap. This series is called Unbecoming First Lady, a title that I never asked for, I never wanted, and it was a time when I was at my lowest, and it reminds me of I can't think of that name, but the girl in there said, how did he find me? How did he search me out? How did he know he could do this to me and my babies? So early in 2023, I had a lump in my breast. It was huge. And so I called the doctor and she told me to come in. And when she tried to suck the fluid out of there, because they determined that it was infected, when she tried to suck the fluid out, she didn't numb me good enough, and it hurt like crazy. The needle was like this long, and it was terrible. And so she was like, well, I can't get it, so you're gonna have to come back tomorrow to let the doctor do it. She was a PA. She said, come back tomorrow, let the doctor do it by myself. I didn't tell a friend, I didn't tell a parent, I didn't tell a kid. I just made the decision to go. But at the same time, I'm afraid that it's not just, any kind of lump. I'm afraid that it's the lump, the big C lump. And I had plans to go look at an apartment out of state, and this was the one day that I was supposed to go, and I couldn't make it. And so I think I was more, and I know I was more upset that I couldn't make the appointment for the apartment than I was about the lump in my breast. And so the doctor, black lady, beautiful, intelligent, she was able to get the lump out, and it was like in two syringes, and then she put a tag in it, which pissed me off because I didn't want that, but she did it so fast. They don't give you any pain medicine. And so by this time, I did inform my oldest daughter that this is what I was going through, and that I was going home and try to get some rest. And during this time in February, my youngest daughter had stepped on a piece of glass, which I thought I got all the glass out of her foot, but she was limping, and he was working and couldn't take her to the doctor. And so I couldn't, after this, for about 3 days after the procedure that I had, lumpectomy, I was sore. So it hurt for me to have the seatbelt across, but you got to have your seatbelt. So I would put a blanket in between the seatbelt. Nobody knew what I was going through. I didn't share it. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. All of the things, but I was still being strong because I knew I had to carry on. And so finally I take my daughter to the doctor, and the doctor was like, she had a piece of glass in her foot that calloused over, which was causing her to limp when she walked. It was a nice sized piece of glass. And so I'm going through all of this, and along comes this man that is a sheep in wolf's clothing, or a wolf in sheep clothing. And I won't lie, he swept me off my feet instantly. It was the kind words, the sweet, good morning text, and it wasn't like the good morning beautiful text and stuff like that. He was like, I'm willing to do my part, I'm here at the door, you just got to let me in. It was all of the things that I had been missing being single. And so I'm going through that. I'm also going through this situation where some kind of way, when we get 16, we know more than our moms, and we bump heads. And so me and my middle daughter are not speaking. So I was wounded. And here comes somebody that I was like, I've been pouring into everybody's cup. I've been doing for everybody, and nobody's been here to do for me. And here comes this man that's willing to do it all, and he's willing to put back pieces that he didn't break, and he's willing to be there for kids that he didn't make. He must be the one. I ignored all the red flags. I ignored all of the maybe he really does hate women signs. It wasn't until, I was in rather deeply that I had already started questioning my self-worth, had already questioned who I was. But when I'm telling him, I'm not into black magic, but I am into spirituality, he was like, well, that's fine. He knew more about it than I did, because he would say, I'm about to send you some beautiful pictures of the full moon. And it's a full moon in Capricorn, and he was a Capricorn, which me and Capricorns do not get along. And there would be these beautiful pictures, of the moon, and these beautiful, I wish you were here. And he was seeing himself singing songs, like he was just like what I had asked for, because I had made this list, and I wanted, the man that I dated to check off these boxes and things like this. So I thought, even though he's a pastor, and even though he kind of led me on and didn't tell me in the beginning that he was still married, but they're separated, maybe I could, be a first lady. Maybe I could, because he wasn't a traditional stand in the pulpit every Sunday. I didn't recognize the mother wounds that he had in him, or the father wounds that he had. I heard him tell stories about how his father didn't want him to be a minister, and he was waiting on his father to finally be proud of him and tell him what a good son he was. I saw it and kept going. It was like, maybe it's just a rough patch. You haven't dated in a long time. You don't know what goes into this. Maybe it's just a rough patch, and it'll get better. I had convinced myself, that it was me, that I wasn't good enough. Maybe, I do need to wear straight hair. Maybe I do need to go back into my acrylic nails, and toxic glue in my lashes, and maybe, that's what he deserves. If he's willing to invest in me, which he was buying herbs. He was telling me that I need to go ahead and finish the second book. And he was doing all this during the day, but at night, it's like the minute the fucking sun went down, which the sunset from that penthouse was so beautiful. It was like the minute the sun went down, he changed and turned into somebody sinister, evil, and like somebody that didn't like women. And it would even be to the point where it was some movie he wanted me to watch, and I was like, I don't want to watch it. And I think he was trying to show me a GAY scene that was trying to tell me what he was into, because he would always have close conversation with these boys and his friends and this and, but it seemed like more than just a regular normal friendship. Because even at the end, I was like, were you using me as your beard? Like, was I, a cover up? Or, like, do you really like women? And again, he was real religious, but he would idolize almost Kevin Gates, and seeing Kevin Gates spit in the mouth. And he was always talking about things to do on the full moon that would connect us more, that would keep us together more. There were so many layers to this one person that even today I don't feel like I got to the heart of who he truly was and how evil he really was. But I knew some of the things that he was doing, and some of the things that he was displaying was my mother wounds testing me. He was literally like my mom in a male's body. And it was testing me, like, how much of it are you going to take? How much can you withstand? When will you say enough is enough?